Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back. In this video, we are looking at the NBA slate for tonight. Just a single game showdown, but that's what we're going to have for the rest of the season now, with only 4 teams left. So let's go ahead and get right into it. If you wanted a chance to win a free football pass, I'm giving away a couple on Twitter. All you have to do is just retweet a post and give yourself a chance to enter if you wanted to. But otherwise, let's get right into it. As always, appreciate if you guys hit the like button, subscribe if you have not already. Looking at the captain plays today on this slate. On this showdown, there's only a couple of spend-ups. You only have Paul George and Devin Booker because two of the other studs are out for this one. No Kawhi. Who knows if he'll return at all this postseason. And Chris Paul should be back soon, maybe Game 3 or Game 4. But with those guys out, once again, it is pretty easy to pay up at captain for Paul George or Devin Booker. And I think that's the route I want to go. You could go cheap with like a Cameron Payne if you wanted to, but there's just not enough salary that you need to. You can go that cheap at captain. Like even if you go with a Devin Booker, there's enough value in the 3 to 2K range that it makes it pretty easy to do that. And there's a very, very good chance that Booker or Paul George are the highest scoring players on the slate. So that's one of the two guys that I'm going to play at captain. I prefer Devin Booker at home without Chris Paul. We saw what he did last game. He was awesome in that one. Had like 16 straight points at one point. Not only was he great in the scoring, but he had an all-around just magnificent game. 11 assists, 13 rebounds, only 2 turnovers, handling the ball out of the game without Chris Paul there. Should see more of that tonight. And he should be the most expensive player, I would say, on DraftKings, but he is cheaper than Paul George just by a little bit. So for that reason, I go Devin Booker as my captain. But I'm still definitely going to get Paul George in the lineup with Devin Booker. George going to be playing big minutes as well for the Clippers. He was super aggressive, took 26 shots, only made 7 threes, which was great, but the rest of the way only went 3 of 11 from 2-point field goal attempts, which is not something you don't really see. Also only had 4 rebounds. We've seen him get a lot more rebounds than that recently. Overall, it was also a quick turnaround for the Clippers. Tough game against tough series against the Jazz where Paul George had to exert a lot of energy late in that series without Kawhi Leonard, and he was playing huge minutes. They only got 1 day off, and they were right back at it in an afternoon game against the Suns, so they didn't really get a lot of rest time. Maybe tonight they are a little bit more fresh, and I am expecting this game to be a little bit closer. I know the Clippers made it close at the end, but the Suns had a really hot start to the fourth, and that was without Paul George out there, so I think this time Ty Lue will have Paul George out there at the start of the fourth to prevent any sort of run like that. But going with these two leaves you with about 5K left, and you got a couple of value plays right here that look appealing. Boogie Cousins actually got in the rotation, and he played 13 minutes, and he had 5 fouls in 13 minutes, so very Boogie-like, trying to get into people's faces, trying to change some of the momentum of the game. He was fine out there, put up 19 fantasy points in 13 minutes. We always know he's a very good point per minute guy. At 2,000, he looks like a guy that you could plug in pretty easily. You also have Rajon Rondo, who played 22 minutes. You never really know what kind of minutes he's going to play. I still say that he has a chance to play good minutes just without Kawhi Leonard and them being somewhat thin just with some role players right now without Kawhi. Everybody just kind of gets a bump, and that includes Rondo. So he would probably be another guy in the 2K range that looks appealing. Those are the only two in that range that I would play. I wouldn't really play Saric when I could go Rondo or Cousins. I don't see anybody in the 1K range except for maybe Luke Kennard as a guy that could get hot, but he's not been playing a lot of minutes. Just a pump play if you play a bunch of teams. And then 3K range, you have Craig, who's going to be playing like mid-teens to low 20s in minutes. He's a decent option. 34, I probably like the 2K options a little bit better, but if you have the salary, you could get up to Craig. Not really that interested in Beverly or Zubats too much. They're kind of a little bit too expensive, I'd say. Beverly or Rondo, who knows who's going to get those backup minutes. I think I'd rather take a shot on Rondo, who's like $1,600 cheaper. And then Zubats is 46. Cousins is 2K. I might go to Cousins instead. But one guy that I like is Campaign. He's $6,200. He's affordable. He's going to be playing good minutes, high 20s, low 30s. Without Chris Paul, gets you some assists. Also can score the basketball at a pretty good clip. And he's a decent point per minute guy, especially this postseason. He's been very good in getting you good fantasy points, not only points, but assists. Get you some rebounds as well. So going with these three leaves you with about 47 left. If I wanted to go to another Clipper, that would be Reggie Jackson, who is $8,600. He's been the second option besides Paul George in terms of scoring. That leaves you with only about $2,750, but that's where the couple of the 2K options come in. So you definitely could make it work if you wanted to. Jackson looks pretty good on the Clippers side just because he's going to score and shoot the ball, and he's been very good from 3 this postseason. And then Aiden would be my third favorite Sun besides Booker and Payne at $9,200. Should maybe get a chance at a double-double. Clippers will probably start small again, so he should have a chance to dominate the paint. But right now, going Booker, George, Cameron Payne, and then the last option, plug in one of these 2K options that I like. Maybe take a shot on Boogie Cousins, just a guy that could give you some spark off the bench. Quick, like 15 or 10 minutes, maybe get you 20 fantasy points. That would be great at his $2,000 salary. And then you can still go with like a Reggie Jackson. Maybe if you think Morris will start to play better. He's been struggling recently. If his shot's not falling, he's not going to do much. And his shot's not been falling, so Ty Lue's kind of been going with like Rondo instead. Some of these, well, last game at least he went Rondo and some of the guards instead of Morris at the end. And then Terrence Mann always gives you that big upside. He should play good minutes again. And he's 64, so he's still affordable enough. Definitely priced at an appropriate price, but he still gives you that huge upside as we saw against the Jazz. And then I'm not really looking at Cameron Johnson too much off the bench. I'd rather just get up a little bit more to Terrence Mann instead, or go down to some of these value plays. So I think these 4 give you some good upside. At least Booker, George, and Cam Payne are the 3 that I would start my lineup with. And then I throw in probably Reggie Jackson or DeAndre Ayton, depending on how you think the game's going to go. But otherwise, that is it for the DraftKings side. Let's jump over to FanDuel. All right, on FanDuel here, looking at the 2x plays, you have Paul George at 15, so both sites have Devin Booker cheaper than Paul George. At home here, I just go Devin Booker instead, I'd say. I think there's a chance Paul George outscores Booker, but Booker's just been so good this postseason, and without Chris Paul, there's just a lot of usage for him to be had. Same thing kind of goes with George without Kawhi, but I'm deciding with Booker at home in this one. And then Batum is $13K. That is somewhat expensive. I'd probably go Reggie Jackson over Batum, or even like Ayton over Batum. Batum would kind of have a good game, but I think it's also going to be dependent on how he gets blocks and steals. And the Suns team is very good at not turning the ball over too much, so I think it's a chance he gets a little bit less steals in this game than he did against the Jazz. And then other options here are Cameron Payne at $11K, Terrence Mann also $11K, and then there's a couple of $6,500 players that you could use that will allow you to pay up for maybe one other guy, and those are DeMarcus Cousins, $65, and then Rajon Rondo at $65 as well. Those are the 2 options that are very cheap and allow you to pay up for maybe like another guy in the 12 to 13K range besides Devin Booker and Paul George were the 2 you would want to start your lineup with. At the pro position, Reggie Jackson looks appealing at $12.5. Plug him in. Then you have $9,000 left. You can go with a Cameron Payne, and then go with like maybe DeMarcus Cousins, or go with Rondo. Maybe you can even take a shot on like Craig if you wanted to at 75. And then you have Bridges at 10K. He looks all right. I think I like a couple of other options. Like I'd rather go up to Payne instead, but he's going to play good minutes, and he's been pretty solid this postseason. So that is pretty much it for the video, at least on FanDuel. It's Devin Booker, Paul George, and Reggie Jackson as my 3 favorites. Can make an argument to go Payne over Jackson, but I just like the way Jackson's been scoring the ball, and he should play big minutes again tonight. So that's it for the video. I mean, only a single game, so not too much to dig into. But if you guys have any questions, you can leave them in the comments. I'll try to get to them. Thank you for watching. Best of luck tonight, and I'll see you all next time.